Episode 13 of Trying British Foods. I live in Manhattan and I have discovered a shop that sells British food items that are not otherwise available in American stores, so I am working my way through recommendations that you all send to me. 4 things to go through tonight as usual. The first thing, and actually the only non-sweet thing in this episode, is Piccalilli Pickle. Now this is Heinz. Now I did really like Branston Pickle. I made it, it was so important it had its own episode. I've been told this is somewhat similar in concept but not in flavor, so I'm very intrigued to try this for the first time. I have just very simply, just like the Branston Pickle, I just put it with some crackers and with some cheese. I've been reassured that this is an entirely appropriate way to serve this, but nonetheless, I'm sure someone in the comments will have something to say. On to the sweet things. So first up, I have this flake from Cadbury. Now I have to admit, I am not entirely certain how this is appreciatively different from the Wispa that I had in the last episode, but I mean, I suppose we'll find out. It says it's the crumbliest, flakiest milk chocolate. So we'll see what this is all about. This Bounty, which looking at the packaging, I assume is coconut. I wish I could tell you more about this, but the information on the back does not appear to be in English, so I'm not entirely certain what that's about. And then the last item is the one I'm just the most confused by and intrigued by at the same time. So it is this Uncle Joe's mulled wine sweets. Now I have to admit, when I first picked these up, I thought that these were gummies. They're not. They're like hard candy. But so now I am assuming here that the name of the brand is not Uncle Joe's Christmas. I'm assuming it's just Uncle Joe's, and this is a seasonal item for Christmas, which would make sense with the mulled wine. That's what I'm guessing here. You wouldn't have Uncle Joe's Christmas just year round. I think I will like these because I do like mulled wine in its actual real form. But I think what is so intriguing to me about this is this goes back to, we've had other items on this series of things that are sweet things that are presumably marketed toward children, the Shandy, the wine gums, now this, that is based around alcohol, or wine and beer, really more specifically. And that really is a pretty interesting cultural difference. I mean, we really don't have that in the US at all. I mean, I'm sure somebody's going to Google something and find some kind of exception, but for the most part, we really don't have products geared toward children, sweets and candies and things like that, that represent alcohol or are flavored after alcohol, really. So first up is the Piccalilli Pickle. It says crunchy and tangy, so we'll see if it holds true to that. I still haven't made up my mind. Hold on, one more. This is an interesting one, a little bit of a strange one. No problems with this whatsoever, 0 complaints. The thing is though, in and of itself, it doesn't appear to have a lot of flavor. By that I mean, it is certainly a huge burst of sodium and salt in a way that is really good and does pair really well with, I mean, cheese and crackers. I imagine this would also be very good on a sandwich. But it doesn't really seem to have much of a flavor unto itself, in a way that I guess is a little surprising to me after the Branston Pickle. Personally, I feel like I would prefer the Branston Pickle just because that is a bit more of a distinguishable taste in and of itself. This otherwise is coming across to me as just a perfectly fine, very sodium-heavy relish or sauce that is good, but just that by itself, I don't know that I would necessarily be able to detect it unless someone told me I was eating it. So, a little unusual. All right, and now the Cadbury Flake. Oh, okay. So this is not smooth on the outside. I'm understanding this much more now that I've tasted it. It actually is very crunchy. It is very similar in some ways to a Crunch Bar we would have in the US just without the additives in it. I mean, this is just chocolate, nothing else in it. It's similar in texture and crunch to that. I actually like this much better than the Wispa. The Wispa seemed a bit like a fool's errand to me. This definitely does have enough of its own texture and consistency where I would actively seek out a flake and have it if I were in the mood for this type of chocolate bar. So this is great. I actually really like this. I think this is a chocolate bar that merits its name and its texture, which was very different from the Wispa in the last episode. Okay, and now the Bounty. Oh, it's 2, okay. 2 of these. I am almost certain we have some sort of American equivalent of this. It really is just, coconut with milk chocolate, which is fine. Personally, I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of coconut, so, I wasn't, this wasn't never going to be a favorite of mine just because of the coconut, but I do appreciate what it's doing. And I'm almost certain we have to have something. I'm not a big enough fan of coconut to know what the American equivalent of this would be, but I'm almost certainly have something exactly like this. Just pure coconut on the inside. Perfectly good, perfectly fine. Again, coming back to the chocolate bars in particular, I am not tasting a drastic difference between what we have in the US and what have been in the UK. A lot of people in the UK swear their chocolate is very different. Personally, I'm not tasting a huge difference, but that's just me. The Uncle Joe's mulled wine. Now, since this is hard candy, I'm gonna have to stop the recording, suck on it, and then come back and tell you what it tastes like. I'm definitely liking this. I don't know, the flavor isn't particularly strong. It is very sweet, but it's not like a lot of flavor, really, but perfectly lovely and pleasant. I don't know that the mulled wine is really being pulled through in terms of flavor. Mulled wine typically has a little bit of a kick or a little bit of a spice or even something that's a little cinnamony. You could tell me that this is cherry or strawberry, and I would have believed you if it were not labeled as mulled wine. So I'm wondering, does Uncle Joe's also make cherry or strawberry and they're just labeling these as mulled wine? I don't know. Just a question. It's not, I have no inside information. It's just a question. But I kind of suspect that's kind of what's happening here. Something along those lines. Wine-flavored sweets. We need more of that in the world. Why not? Why ever not? What could happen to the children? What could go so wrong? Thank you again for all of the recommendations, and I'll see you next time.